Good morning, everybody. Hey, friends, and welcome to another painting stream. Hi there, I'm Andrew, also known as Thanatos within the confines of the internets. And this is my painting stream, where for more than 2 weeks now, I'm keeping it up. I'm painting a little bit every weekday and Sundays. Sundays, not officially part of the schedule, but I haven't missed a Sunday in 3 weeks, so I'm not sure what that says about me. Aside from the fact I like painting minis, and I've been having a lot of fun hanging out with you folks in chat and getting some minis painted, and it's definitely been a productive time for me, even if not, strictly speaking, a perfect time. We had a bit of a setback over the weekend, but I'm moving past it. We're gonna just keep barreling forward. So over the weekend, on Friday, I applied a very generous wash to this awesome piece with the stone head. And I don't know if you can see, you can see that it sort of glistens. I was perhaps too generous with the wash. And as a result, it's got a very shiny finish to it now. And I'm not certain what I can do about that. I'm going to seal it with a matte sealer, so perhaps that will reduce it slightly, but it probably won't make much impact. So I'm going to have to do some overbrushing to try and reduce it, and I'm just going to have to accept that it's going to look shiny. There's no other way with that. And then, of course, yesterday, while I was painting on this piece, the cool one with the bell, one of the skeletons broke off. There he is. So I'm going to have to glue that back in place, and it's never quite going to be as good as it was initially. It's going to have a little bead of glue there. But plastic glue is pretty impressive stuff. I'm thinking it should be okay. I still want to hit this one here with a blow dryer quickly because it's slightly at a weird angle. I want to see if I can fix that without destroying it. It is what it is. But it's a new week. It's a Monday. I'm starting a little bit late because it's just hard to get in gear on a Monday morning. But I want to get some more painting done, and I'm going to try and attack a whole bunch of pieces today. I'm going to try and put a little bit of paint on a whole bunch of different things today just to feel like I've made some progress. So let's go to overhead cam, and we'll talk a little bit about what I want to. I can hear my cat out in the main apartment. She's upset that I'm in here. Anyways, yesterday on my Sunday stream, we got a bunch of paint applied to this model here. Aside from the fact that the skeleton dropped off, we got a bunch of the planks and boards painted. I want to finish these stairs and get these bits here. So that's my first order of business today. And then while I have that brown paint out, I'm going to continue work on these two platforms that are just, they're useful as platforms to go between terrain pieces when you're setting up the board. They just give some place for folks to have a higher area to sit. So I want to get a little paint on those two. We'll do that today. And I'm going to start work on one of these bits of wall terrain. So I'm just going to do the boards on here. Should be pretty quick, I think. So that's my goal for today, and if I finish all of that, we'll move on to something else and we'll continue to work. So there's 4 of these in the Warcry demo, and when I was assembling them, here's another one, you can see they're sort of random, like they are not all identical. When you snip them off the sprue and look at the directions to construct them, it pretty much says just build them. Build them however you want. It's got sort of areas here along the edges where things can be inserted into each other, and you sort of build whatever you want to build from those pieces that you have available. And it's the first time I've ever seen that when I've been constructing anything, and it was quite liberating. Anyhow, let's get a fresh palette. For these palettes, what I'm using are the backs of labels. We ship a lot of magic cards at my workplace, or at least did before the U.S. Postal Service made it impossible. And we end up with a lot of these because we print out a lot of labels. I'm actually gonna get rid of that as well. So when we have these spare backers to the labels, it's basically wax paper, and it's perfect as a wet palette, or at least it works well for me. So today we're going to be working in this flat earth, Vallejo flat earth, which is what I've been doing all the boards in. And I don't know, I have an hour and 3/4 at least. I could go a little longer because Amanda's not going to be back for her lunch until until 1 o'clock. And I've got nothing pressing to do between. Well, I have to check on laundry, but other than that, I have nothing really big until 1 o'clock. So let's see how much painting I can get done. So we did end up with a couple new followers last week, moving the needle on our follower count goal for the month of April. On yesterday's stream, we got Gregor Z-Man, or Gregorsman, hanging out with us, offering advice on washes, which was nice. I missed on Thursday when Shiro followed. Shiro, a longtime follower of our Battleground Games live board game streams, and I believe part of Andrew's 10 Rabid Bears community. So that was nice to get that follow. We're slowly moving towards that goal of 30 followers by the end of April. If we can keep to the follower goals that I'm setting, hopefully I'll be able to reach affiliate by June, beginning of June probably. We'll see. We'll see if we can do it. I believe in you, chat. And then I can have channel emotes and play with channel currency, seeds, and stuff like that. I have big plans. But it's a couple months down the line, so no pressing urgency on that for now. It's just hanging out and painting models. And once I'm finished with all this terrain, I can move on to minis and do some of the minis for Warcry. Very much looking forward to that. There's some of those minis that look like so much fun to paint, and I cannot wait. I'm also very curious, after all of these large terrain pieces, to see what it's like to be back to painting individual figures. I somewhat suspect I will have improved my painting speed with practice, and the more you do a thing, the easier it becomes. You learn new techniques. Still frustrated about that wash, but again, it's a learning experience. I have discovered a thing now, which is that you end up with a very shiny, glossy coat if you apply the Army Paint Quick Shade wash too thickly. You have to be more careful with it. It's just that balancing act, trying to be both careful and fast, or somewhere in between. Careful enough to get the level of detail that I'm going for without getting too obsessed with the fine details, and fast enough that it doesn't take me months to get this terrain done, only weeks. I think we made decent progress last week on the larger terrain pieces. We got one piece mostly done. Wash debacle aside, and this piece, I'll probably be done with it with the base coat by tomorrow. I have to glue that skelly back on, and I have to do all the sort of stonework around the outside here. I don't think I realized when I started out on this just how much wood I was going to have to paint. I spent most of a 2-hour stream yesterday just doing planks and boards. So, yeah, fair amount of area to cover. And I don't think I'm going particularly slowly. It's just, there's a lot of it. But that's fine. Never gonna get there if I don't just keep going. Every day, a little more progress, a little more paint on the plastic. Well, every day but Saturdays. Saturdays I work longer shifts at Battleground and have to be there at 10 o'clock. So it doesn't really fit with my 10 to noon schedule that I've been doing. At some point, Battleground is probably going to expand our hours. We've reduced them significantly as a result of COVID. At some point, probably going to go back to opening at noon instead of opening at 3. Probably. I don't know how many. I could go back and look at historic data, I guess, and see how many sales we get before noon. Maybe it's not worth it to open before 3. But if we start opening at noon again on weekdays, I'll definitely have to change the hours on this stream. And as evidenced today by the fact that I was like 10-15 minutes late getting the stream started, it's hard enough for me to get started at 10 a.m., much less like 9:30 or something. We'll see. This is quite relaxing. It's a little repetitive maybe, but it's satisfying seeing the paint go on the model, and there's not a lot of fine detail work involved in what I'm doing right now, so it goes pretty quickly. figure out how I'm going to glue that skeleton back on. The contact point is too small, really, to attempt to pin it. So I can't add much additional structural reinforcement. I suppose I could glue a thread in or something like that. I might do that just to give it added reinforcement. Just embed a little piece of thread in the glue. Anyhow, have to do that at some point. Probably do that tomorrow. And then we're gonna do some fine detail on this. Once we're finished with all the sort of white bits around here, we can go in and do some of the cooler little details that really bring the model to life. And then it will be time for a more judicious and careful wash than I did for the piece with the head. I was just so excited to finish a piece. And I really liked how that head piece was coming. And I got too careless. I went too fast, and I applied too much wash. And that particular wash, apparently, when applied that way, results in a glossy finish, which is not at all what I was going for. I prefer a matte finish for these pieces. Anyways, I don't think there's too much I can do to rectify it at this point. Just have to take the lesson, put some finishing details on that piece, do a sealing coat, and call it done. Because there's not much I can do aside from painting the whole ding-dang thing again from the very beginning, which I don't think I have the strength of will to do. I'm pretty sure at the store there's more Warcry terrain that Serena was working on pre-pandemic. So if I chose to, I could paint a second one of those. Maybe that's something I'll do someday in the far distant future. It took me a week to get to where we are on that model, and I want to be able to do other stuff. I don't want to be painting these same Warcry terrain pieces for the remainder of my days. So, just have to move forward. Always forward, never learning. Except perhaps this time I have learned a small lesson. Alright, we're going to get to a couple hard to reach bits here. I don't know if you folks can see, but there's these boards, sort of cross beams, and I want to do the tops and backs of them. And it's not terribly accessible. We'll do the best we can. Get the paint on the model. Undersides to all those steps I just painted just now. And the back sides of those steps. Should go pretty quickly, I hope. Alright, can I do this? This particular crossbeam is going to be frustrating, I can tell. sort of trying to jam paint on it from the side. Yeah, it worked out all right. Okay, progress. I definitely have to try and remember to get more of this paint while I'm at the store today. We're running a little bit low on this particular paint. Am I coming across as kind of quiet today? It feels quiet. I could speak up, but I've got myself turned all the way up and it seems quiet today. Okay, hopefully that's a little bit better. A little more audible. We'll see. Back sides. These boards on the side. And we'll be done with this particular detail of this particular model. Definitely turned out to be a lot more wood to paint on this than I anticipated. And then I have to get all the stonework done. And that's an entire task unto itself. I am still discovering details. I don't know if you folks can see, but there's a little ring here. We'll do that as if it were a piece of metal there. So that's cool. There's some more of those little nail heads in the wood. So we'll be able to highlight those just to give the model a little bit more detail, to make it pop a little bit. It's that sort of thing that I really love, is those little details that break up the monotony of the model and make it come to life, make it look less like a big hunk of plastic and more like it's actually a real thing in the real world. Or in the fantasy world, whatever. Who knew when I decided to do terrain? When I started this stream up 3 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago? This is the start of my 3rd week. So 2 weeks ago. Who knew just how time-consuming all this terrain would turn out to be? I had my suspicions. I kind of thought, because I'd never done anything on this scale, I kind of thought it would be more of a project. But all the more reason to do it here on stream, where I can hang out with friends and chat with folks while I do it, with a little motivation to get it done. And get it done we will. You and me, stream. We're gonna get there. We're gonna finish this thing someday. And then folks can come into the Battleground Abington store and play with these pieces of terrain and the minis that I'm eventually going to get done. And you, chat, will know that you were a part of this. You helped achieve this with your moral support. Oh man, I feel like today might be a 2-pot of coffee day. This 1 pot hasn't been enough. Yes, let me put my hands on the wet paint. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. These 2 boards there. And the undersides of these stairs there. And a little bit on the backs of these here. And then we'll be done with wood on this bell tower piece. Only be fine detail and stone. I fear that the stone is going to take a while. I remember this portion here slowing me down a little bit last week. We'll see how it goes. There, that's the back sides of those boards. Excellent. Let's do these 2 on the side here. A lot of just rotating the model to see it from all different angles so I can see all the different areas I haven't painted. But at least this is going fairly quickly. Like I said, I want to do a whole bunch of pieces today. I can get a sense of accomplishment to start my Monday out. Get that sense that I've done a lot of work. Yeah. Okay. Let's see how best to hold this. Get where I'm trying to get. backs and sides of boards. And some areas that are sort of in between, where probably nobody will ever see. That's pretty good. Still have to do the undersides of all those steps. Paint on the model. Paint on plastic. Progress, progress. Okay. Almost done with those two boards on the side there. This is the last little bit of that to do. And then it's the underside of the stairs. And then we're done with the bell tower for today and can move on to some of those other pieces I showed off at the beginning. Yep. Okay. Here. That's the two boards on the sides done. Excellent. Do the side of the stairs here. At least not a lot of precision is involved here, so it does go fairly quickly. I can use this large, well, not large, but this Wargamer Regiment brush that I've been using, and it does a great job getting some coverage there. I think Clara has discovered where the painting room is. I can hear her out in the kitchen meowing at the door. She's like, "What are you doing in there? Why are you not out here cuddling me?" And she has a point there. Why am I not cuddling a cat? Sadly, cuddling a cat and painting a miniature are definitely mutually exclusive. Cannot do both at the same time. I find enough cat hair in here as it is, and I am in the cat-free room in theory, so yeah. Cannot have the cat in my lap while I paint. That would just be inviting disaster. which makes sense to me, but I don't think she'll accept that, because she's a cat. So naturally, she should be the center of attention at all times. I'm sure she woke up from a nap and heard me in here talking to you folks and was like, oh, I should be in there with him. Man, I'm putting this paint on thick. It's fine. These are undersides, backsides, small areas that do not require a fine touch. I just don't want them to be bare gray plastic. Perilously close to resting my hand in my wet paint. Frankly, kind of astonished that I haven't leaned over the model and painted my hair yet. My hair has chosen to be relatively well behaved of late. Just the undersides of these steps. When you're done with this, you can move on to another piece. Oh, that poor kitty. Poor girl. All alone out there in the apartment. Feeling such a traitor. Other bits that I plan to do today are going to go a little faster than this. I think we made good progress today. I mean, I got a lot of paint applied to this model in the last few minutes. It's a good start on the week. My goal is to get a lot more done today. See what we can do. I'm really going much faster than I normally do, but these are the undersides where nobody's going to see it. So I'm getting some bubbles in there and stuff. I don't really care about these particular surfaces as much. I mean, if the model gets turned over, if somebody looks at the underside of it, I don't want them to see gray, but it doesn't have to look good. It just has to be painted. For example, I'm not going to do any sort of a wash on the bottom side. I think I am almost done with all the wood surfaces on this particular model. Oh, so very, 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 very close. Just going to do back edge of these steps. This is an awkward angle. Got the paint there at least. A little more paint. Excuse me. Coffee belch. Now, if our buddy Showtech Saint were in chat right now, she would be warning me not to drink that, which looks like coffee. This is coffee. This is coffee. That's paint water. Do not mix them. I think the paint water is probably mostly non-toxic, but I don't really want to test it. And I'm certain it doesn't taste like coffee. I'd be very surprised if paint water was caffeinated. Maybe that's a product that people want. Anybody in Vallejo or Army Painter or any of the other paint companies, if you're watching this stream, caffeinated paints, so that when people are tipping their brushes by nibbling on them, which is not something I recommend or do, but lip tipping of brushes is a thing. But if you caffeinate your paint, maybe it'll help wake them up. Or put Bitrex in your paint to discourage people from lip tipping. I think that would put a right quick stop to that sort of thing. For anybody not familiar with it, Bitrex is what they put on things that you don't want people to put in their mouths. For example, Nintendo Switch cartridges are treated with Bitrex to discourage small children from eating them, because they are quite small. Less likely to put something in your mouth if it tastes bloody awful. Alright, I think, for all intents and purposes, that's all the wood surfaces on this model painted brown. Excellent. Let's put that over here. Yes. That. How long did that take? It is a little bit after 11 now, so that took a little less than an hour. It's a good benchmark. It's good to know how long that sort of thing takes. I'm going to grab one of these pieces. This has a little wood on it, so I'm going to quickly slap some paint on that. trying not to get it on here because I'm probably not going to be painting those stone areas. I'm just going to let the primer be the color for those, and let a slightly more judicious wash than the one that I did on Friday bring out the details and highlights in those. This is a smaller surface area than the stairs and a little easier to paint. Just in terms of angles and such, it's not got very much like underneath and back sides and stuff like that. So it should go a little quicker. We'll see. See how long it ends up taking me to paint these pieces as opposed to the two sort of major set pieces, the bell tower and the stone head. Like the bell tower and the stone head are definitely the most eye-catching bits of terrain, and then these are just generic walls and platforms, sort of background terrain, the meat and potatoes terrain, as opposed to the sort of deluxe gourmet terrain. Of course, I'm a fan of meat and potatoes. So, not to denigrate meat and potatoes. But these are a little, I don't know, more blue collar. They're essential to the game. Like, set pieces are good and all, but you need just walls sometimes to provide cover and platforms to stand on. Hey, Lobster of Revenge, good morning. Alright, thank you for popping in. Glad you could be here. This is going so much faster than those stairs. Maybe I should have started with the walls and then moved to the set pieces later, so that I'd have the practice of working these pieces first. I don't know. I don't really have any regrets. Just wish I hadn't gone quite so fast and overboard with that wash. I'm gonna keep kicking myself over that. I can't stop thinking about it. But that's part of the learning process, I think, is your brain hooks onto those mistakes that you've made and replays them over and over. Thanks, brain. But it's a good way to prevent you from making those mistakes again in the future. Exactly. Thinking about things that you should not have done or have done differently in the past is, well, I mean, maybe not too useful, but it is an essential part of how the brain functions, I think. It is how we are wired to learn. It's uncomfortable, but it's part of how we grow. And this has gone so much faster than those stairs. I'm beginning to wonder if I should just do all the wood on all 4 of these terrain pieces. I know when I started doing terrain, my friend Allie said, do not assembly line them. Do not do all the pieces at once. Because you don't get the satisfaction of completing a piece and you lose motivation. But I'm feeling like this is going so fast. Hey, where did that blap come from? How did I do that? Oh my goodness. Getting paint everywhere. What is wrong with me? I feel like this is going so fast. Maybe I do just assembly line this and do all the wood on all 4 of the large pieces. There's more wood on some of them. There's more platform on a couple of the pieces than this piece. This piece has just the one little platform piece on it. I think what's really going to slow me down on these is all the pillars and stonework. Everything else on these pieces should go relatively quickly. We'll see. We will see. But I feel like this is going quite quickly in comparison to the stairs, which were interminable, just full of difficult to reach backside pieces. This is much more straightforward. So, I don't know, maybe I'll get more terrain done this week than I had anticipated. I was thinking, going into this week, maybe I'll do one piece of wall terrain and finish the bell tower this week. And that was kind of disheartening to realize that I'd have 3 more pieces of large terrain still left after 2 weeks of large terrain. But that was sort of based on the amount of time it took me to do the 2 set pieces, the bell tower and the giant head. But this is going swimmingly. Maybe I'm getting faster. Maybe I'm actually getting better at this. Or maybe this is just a much easier piece to do. Or maybe some combination of the two. So one thing I'm not super happy with about these basic terrain pieces, you can see right here next to where I'm painting, which is that the underside of this stone segment here, this piece here, is just one piece that came off the sprue like this, with the stone here and the wood here. Get the sides of this. But the underside of it, where it's glued to the wall, is hollow and unfinished. I guess you're not intended to flip your terrain piece upside down and observe the bottom of it. So, you know, I'll paint around there, but there's nothing I can do about the fact that it's just it's unmolded in any way. I guess the alternative is to have a second piece to glue onto the bottom there, because they don't want to waste plastic doing a large or a thick, heavy piece of terrain. I mean, this piece is pretty heavy to start with. But it would be heavier if this was solid plastic and not, as you can see, hollow segments there. Meh. Is what it is. But, yeah, if you flip over a piece of terrain, you may end up seeing some areas that look unfinished, and it's just, they didn't sculpt those areas. Those are secret, hidden parts of the terrain that nobody's really supposed to pay any attention to. Pay no attention to the lack of molding behind the curtain. But the underside of the wood pieces here is sculpted and still has wood grain and stuff like that sculpted in, so that's cool at least. This is going very, very well and very quickly, and I'm quite happy with it. Compare and contrast this with the last hour that I spent doing those stairs, and this is much, much easier. Cool. Someday I need to get myself a air gun for paint, airbrush, so I can do this in just, I don't know, a quarter of the time. It'll leave rough edges that I need to touch up. But in theory, I'd be able to do this much faster if I could just go. extra sprue left on some of these pieces. This is quite satisfying. Just a sense of speed here. It helps that this is a much more uniform, flat area. Not a lot of nooks and crannies. So it's easy to just, oops, a little paint on the stone areas there, that's fine. But it's easy to just get paint on here quickly. There we go. A little more paint. Make sure I'm not completely destroying my brush. Cool. Cool. This should be done momentarily. The wood pieces of this wall. And that went pretty quickly. I'm pleased with that. Almost there. Almost there.
was the most awkward bit just there. And it wasn't that bad. Boom, boom, boom. If I was like a professional streamer, I'd have my music on a slider so I could turn it up when I'm being quiet. Or maybe automate it. So that during long, quiet periods, my music would automatically be louder so as not to have complete silence on stream. Alright. I think that's done. That was so fast, chat. That went so quickly. Let's see. Yeah, that was 20 minutes. To get all that wood done. Pretty sweet. Alright. Let's put that aside for a sec. Dry. And, yeah, I'm gonna try and do these two pieces here quickly. Just get some of the wood, the plank bits of those done. I feel good about this. This means that during this week, there's the potential for me to get several pieces of terrain completed, which will be quite satisfying after last week when I got one piece of terrain completed, and that not even. I mean, I guess if you count the Sunday before last, if you count Easter Sunday's stream, I got paint on, or I did sort of finishing touches on a couple of smaller pieces of terrain on Easter Sunday. So if you count that, which is more than a week ago now, but if you count that, then I got more done last week than just the paint that I applied to the bell tower and large head. Quickly slap some paint on these, because I think these pieces I should very easily be able to complete over the course of this week. Should only take a few minutes, really. They're pretty simple pieces, and again, they are a useful thing to have, because when you're setting up your terrain, it's good to have bridges between walls. It gives variety to the battlefield, so it's not always going to appear the same, and it provides for a little extra dimension to the battlefield, so it's not all two-dimensional. Folks can clamber up onto these higher platforms that, when you're setting up the battlefield, go between the walls. Makes for a more interesting game. So it's good to have these little simple pieces done. And not that time consuming. The only time consuming part about building these bridges is that I can only paint one side of them at a time, because I'm going to need to put it down to let it dry. And if I put it down this way, I'm putting wet paint down. So it means that I can only do one side at a time on these. That's fine. If I do a little work on each of them each day, I'll have these pieces done by Thursday. So that's good. And then that's one more thing checked off on the list. The more I can get painted, the faster I can get the terrain completed, the faster I can get back to painting minis. And I don't know about you folks in chat, but I am very much looking forward to painting some minis after all this terrain over the last few weeks. The terrain is good and all. Terrain is important to the game. But the minis are generally more interesting to paint. And therefore probably more interesting to watch somebody paint. So it'll be good for the stream. It'll be good for my mental health. I'm looking forward to getting back to painting minis. So the faster I can complete all this terrain, the better. These little walkways are such simple pieces. Each of them is just a single piece with no additional bits glued on. There's no glue involved. You just snip them off the sprue and they're done. Snip them off the sprue. Give them a quick prime. I'm doing these in 4 colors, I guess, because I've done the sort of pointy bits here. I'm doing these boards. I've got these logs, and then there's the twine bits that hold the whole thing together. So 4 different colors. Very quick and easy. Alright, that's that one done. Put it aside. Let's do this one. And then maybe we'll do something more entertaining to finish out the stream. Something more impactful and more interesting to look at. We'll see. And this is all logs. All logs. There's one board here. This particular piece will be a little bit more monochromatic when done. I thought these 2 pieces were identical, but they are not. They are 2 completely different sculpts. That's interesting. Things you discover when you get to paint. this piece is going to be. I'm going to have to get the dark brown. And it's going to do quite a lot of that on this piece. I think I might be able to do both sides of this log because it's not necessarily going to touch the ground when I set it down to dry. So let's do that. Quick and easy. And then what do you say we do something a little more vibrant? Interesting with the remainder of my stream for today. Because we've still got a few more minutes to go, at least. Like I said, I could go longer. I could go until 1 o'clock, but I should probably go check up on my cat. She was making that racket earlier. She was kind of demanding attention. And, frankly, she deserves attention. The poor girl. All alone out there in the apartment. Abandoned. How unfair is that? So I probably will wrap up noon-ish. There we go. So we've made some progress today. I'm pretty impressed because we did these two pieces here, right? Which are making progress. We got the stairs here done, which took a while, but we got all of that done. And got the wooden piece at the top of this done. That only took 20 minutes. So that was quite fast. These pillars, however, these are going to be a much bigger time investment. Those are going to be a full stream unto themselves, probably. We'll get to those later in the week, possibly tomorrow. But we made significant progress with those, so I'm going to, as a treat to myself, I'm going to break out the brass scorpion. And we're going to do a little bit of detail work. Look how much is caked on around the lip of the bottle there. That's why I don't really like these Games Workshop Citadel pots. Anyhow, let's grab my medium layer brush. As you all know, my favorite brush. And let's quickly do this little seal, this little relief on the bell here. Been looking forward to this. I figure this is as good a time as any to do it. There we go. It's not going to be a lengthy process, but like I said, it's a little treat for myself. Chance to do some slightly finer work. And it's going to really pop there. It's going to look great. What do you think, chat? I think that looks fantastic. It's exactly what I envisioned. A little thick there. That's right. Pull it back a bit. There we go. There we are. Very satisfying. It's nice to do a little bit of finer detail work. It's not really that fine. Quick brush strokes. And suddenly there's a much more interesting focal point on this model. And voila! Doesn't that look cool? I love it. All right, let's do the other one on the other side. So satisfyingly quick and easy to use. Just a single quick coat. Gets great coverage. It looks fantastic. Good contrast with the silver that I used for the bell. I've been looking forward to doing this, so very nice. Like I said, a little reward. Lovely. Ah, gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. I'm tempted to do this runic work around the bottom, but I feel like that might be tempting fate. Not gonna do it. I'm just gonna let the wash highlight that. But that looks pretty cool. Got 10 minutes left in the stream. At least. Like I can go a little bit later, but 10 minutes. At least. I'm going to... Our last 10 minutes. I'm going to bring back this piece. And I'm going to do these also with the scorpion brass. Or the brass scorpion. Those I can use my thicker brush for. Just making some good progress on this model. There. Lobster made a joke the other day about my choice to do these details in brass, that this civilization must have melted down so many plumbing fixtures. But, you know, this could be brass or bronze or copper. Honestly, they're all fairly similar looking in my mind. The paint is just called brass. should have just stuck with the finer brush, as I'm doing this very delicately, aren't I? Because I'm doing all these little edge bits here. It's not exactly what I intended to do there, but that's fine. Painted a little bit outside the lines, but I'm going to be coming back in here to do this arch in deck tan, which is the color that I'm using for my stonework, so it's fine. I blop a little bit outside the lines, I can just paint over it. The bulb in my lamp here is making pinging noises. Well, that doesn't mean it's about to go out, because that would leave me with not the greatest lighting. This is pretty cool, right? Giving some contrast to this piece, make it look a little more interesting. And of course, once I get in and do the weathering on this, it's going to be even better. Cool, 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 cool. This is a great way to finish off today's stream. I like doing something that really pops on the model. It's going to take me a few minutes, of course, because I'm going to have to do the other side of this as well. Trying to get on the insides of these. cool. Nifty. I'm pretty satisfied with how that looks. Let's do this one too. And then we'll do the back side. And we'll call it a day for today. Today was good. It took me a little while to get going this afternoon, or this morning, just in terms of getting the stream going at the beginning, and I don't know. It was hard to get motivated initially, because I'm still reeling from that setback from this weekend. But we got some paint on the models today, made some spectacular progress, and it makes me think that by the end of this week, we'll have a pretty significant portion of the terrain for this set actually approaching completion. I mean, I couldn't believe how fast this piece went. Just getting the brown on there, on the wood portion of this wall, went so quickly. I realize that all these stone pillars are going to slow me way down. So I'll probably work on that tomorrow, and it's almost definitely going to take me the entire 2-hour stream to do just the stone pillars on this one piece. Almost 100%. I'm prepared. I could be surprised, but I am fully expecting it to take 2 hours to do those on this piece. But once those are done, this piece is mostly done. So that's exciting. Like, if I can do a piece in 2 days instead of a week, that's a pretty significant difference. And that means we'll get more terrain done this week than we did last week by a fair margin. So, excellent, excellent, excellent. This has been a good stream on those merits. And a good start to this week. Possibly this week we'll be able to meet that follower goal that I set for the entire month of April. If we can continue to get 2 or 3 followers a week, I think we're 3 followers away from our follower goal for April. So if we get 3 followers this week, hooray! we've met the April goal and we can increase that goal, or, just celebrate. What do you think, chat? What should we do to celebrate meeting our April follower goal? I vote we paint a mini. Oh wait, we're doing that already. I'll think of something. Something celebratory. If we can hit that goal this week. In the meantime, let me finish this up. And we'll wrap up for today. I'll say thank you ever so much to everybody who hung out today while I painted. Everybody who ends up watching this in the VOD or the YouTube archive. Thank you for joining me. It is having folks in chat to hang out with that makes this stream enjoyable for me. So I hope you will join me for future streams as we continue to work on Warcry terrain and eventually Warcry models and other projects. Obviously this is not exclusively a Warcry stream, though it has been so far, just because that's the project that I decided to address when I started this. But I have many other painting projects in the queue, so we'll get to those as we move forward. And I hope that everybody will enjoy being a part of that. Eventually, I'm going to get some new artwork for this stream. I've been talking to somebody about doing new artwork just to make the stream more interesting and appealing for you folks in terms of icons and stuff like that. Someday we'll have stream emotes. That's still probably a couple months down the line. But every day, I feel like this stream is helping me. It's definitely getting some terrain done for the store. I hope folks in the Boston, Massachusetts area will actually come to check the terrain out once it's done. Get a demo, play around with it, see it in person. Because, chat, you done this. You're a part of the creation of these pieces. Almost done with this that I'm working on right now, the scorpion brass that I am putting onto these gates. There we go. It accelerates once I get the edges done. I can do the middle bits a lot faster. But I think that looks fantastic. It's exactly what I was hoping for. And making all this progress today definitely helps me feel better about the wash issue that we had, because at least I'll have more terrain done now that we've learned a lesson about applying that quick shade wash. We can apply that lesson later this week see if we can make this piece here into the bell tower come out better than the stone head piece did. We'll see what happens when we get to do a wash on those, which will possibly be, if all goes well, possibly be Wednesday. Wednesday or Thursday, because I have a lot of stonework to paint on these, and that stonework is going to be a little bit slower. It's because it's a little more fiddly, there's a little more detail to it. So probably tomorrow and Wednesday we'll work on those. We'll finish those wood bridges, those little platforms. So those will be done. And start in on washes on this piece of wall terrain and on the bell tower on Thursday. And then we can just do fine details and weathering and stuff on Friday, and have 2 complete pieces of terrain to show for our work this week. That's my goal, at least. And I feel like that's achievable now, based on what I was able to finish today. Ah, look at that. Looks great. A wash and some weathering on that. It's really going to look fantastic. It's really going to add life to this model. So let's wrap this up. Let's get this area here done. And then we'll finish up for today. And I will look forward to seeing folks tomorrow as we continue this work, this excellent, excellent work that we're doing. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. I hope everybody is having a pleasant week so far. I hope everybody gets to do some art and, put some paint on a project of your own. I hope this inspires people. Certainly it helps me, but I hope it's also helpful to you. And I look forward to being able to see folks once everybody's vaccinated. Things begin to improve out there. Get a chance to come in and play with these models, possibly. Amanda is 1 week away now from her second vaccination shot, which means that I am just under 2 weeks away from my second vaccination shot. So, progress. Feel good about that. Someday not too far from now, we'll be able to have family over for dinner again. We'll be able to do board gaming and role-playing in the store again. Really looking forward to that. Every day, a little closer. Every day, a little better. There. Last little bits here. So this has been an excellent day. Excellent stream. Made lots of progress. Glad you could be here for a little bit of the Stream Lobster of Revenge. Look forward to seeing you folks again tomorrow as we continue with this piece here and get closer to finishing the bell tower. There we go. Don't forget to clean your brushes. Look at the progress we made on this piece here today. Got all of that done today. Got all of this done today. It's beginning to take shape. On this piece, got all these stairs finished today. We got that little detail there that just really looks fantastic. So, yeah, excellent progress. Thank you everybody for joining me. I had a terrific time. Have a wonderful afternoon, evening, whatever it is for you, and be excellent to each other. I hope you enjoy doing whatever art it is you choose to do. Bye everybody. Have a great day.